5:42 or 43 p.m. The minute is called to order. Madam Clerk, Deputy Clerk.
Board Member Alex Dejulme, absent. Board Member Philip Yeneme. Board Member Scott Galvin.
Here.
Board Member Carol Keys. We have a quorum, Chairman. Well, Chairman Joseph.
Thank you very much. We proceed with Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. Okay. Do we have a copy of the last minutes of April 12? We do?
I'll move approval of the minutes.
I second it.
We have a motion on the floor by Board Member Galvin, seconded by Board Member Bieneme. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Item for the minutes approved. 3-0, excuse me. Okay, we have agenda item number 1, Aruzu Boutique Beautification Grant Request.
Good evening. The first item is a beautification grant request for Irazu Boutique, which is a clothing and accessories business moving to downtown North Miami at 817 Northeast 125th Street. The grant request amount of $13,920 for remodeling, electrical, upholstery improvements, and security cameras. 3 bids from licensed contractors are included in your package. There are no open violations on the property, and the CRA Advisory Board unanimously approved this request, and staff recommends it as well. Also, the applicant is here if you have any additional questions.
I'm sorry, what's the address again?
The address is 817 Northeast 125th Street.
Okay, I have a 13470 Northwest 18th Avenue. Is it? That's the mailing address, and the principal address of 13470 Northwest. Yes, same address. That's the same company?
Are you looking at item?
Oh, okay. All right. Okay, I was looking at the
project address to the top of it.
okay. I'm sorry, yeah, I was looking at the page from the Florida Department of State Division of Corporations.
Yes, the business is in our downtown North Miami.
You asking for 21 or 13?
$13,921 for remodeling, electrical, upholstery improvements, and security cameras.
But the project will cost 21,000? That's
The grant request is for $13,921.
There's 3 bids in your package, Mr. Chairman. The 21,000 that you're seeing is the highest of the 3 bids on the
it's 3
summary.
bids, okay.
So the bid that we are accepting and agreeing to support is the GMB construction proposal for $13,921, which is the top one on the summary page.
Now those bids are for the exact same remodeling job that you are trying to do. One asks for 21,000 versus 13. Is
Yes, I received 3 different. Oh, sorry. My name is Lisbeth Mendoza for the Irazu Boutique. Yes, I have received 3 different quotes, and they ranged in their prices. Not exactly sure why. I'm assuming expertise. I don't know. But each one was told and outlined the same criteria of what was needed for the space, the remodeling.
okay.
All 3 are included. All 3 full bids are included.
I see them, yeah. All right.
Okay. Just need a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the item.
Second.
We have a motion on the floor by Board Member Galvin, seconded by Chairman Joseph. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
All opposed? Board Member Ganame, are you
You
in
see-
favor or opposed? I didn't hear you.
Answer already.
Oh, okay.
You
So
say
that's
oppose,
3-0.
nobody answer. That's me.
Item passes 3-0. Agenda
She likes
item.
to hear your voice, man. You have
Yeah, I
to.
can.
So, be funny.
Agenda item number 2, Mary's LB Pet Shop requests to waive grant guidelines.
The second item is a request to waive the grant guidelines for Mary's Pound Pet Shop. Mary's Pound Pet Shop is located at 13295 West Dixie Highway. On October 13th, 2015, the applicant was awarded a CRA beautification grant of $15,000 to improve the facade of her building. Unfortunately, when construction began, it was discovered that there was structural damage to the building. The additional work will cost $13,967. The CRA guidelines has a requirement that applicants are to provide a match for grants more than $15,000. Due to the applicant's financial constraints, a waiver of this requirement is being requested. Last week, the CRA Advisory Board unanimously approved this request, and staff also recommends approval. The applicant is here if you have any additional questions.
Now, the request for the waive is because it's kind of too soon for them to get a second grant? That's is.
Chairman,
Hmm?
if I'll just explain. The applicant was previously awarded a beautification grant of $15,000.
Yeah.
With that particular grant, there's no match requirement. We just give them the $15,000. The applicant has come back and requested additional money. So what that does is it bumps her up into a different category of grant, from beautification to rehabilitation. With the rehabilitation grant, which is in excess of 15, there's a 50% match. So she would be required to match the grant money that we're giving her, half of it basically. She doesn't have the ability to do that due to financial constraints. So what the applicant is requesting is that in addition to approving the additional grant amount of the $13,967, that we waive the requirement that she provide a match, that she provide half of that money herself, and then we just provide it to her as 100% grant.
Is that permissible under the state
You, as the
statutes?
CRA board, have the authority to waive any and all of the grant requirements in your guidelines.
Okay.
I'll move approval of the item.
Second.
We have a motion on the floor by Board Member Galvin, seconded by Chairman Joseph. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Item passes 3-0.
You're welcome.
I see it every day.
He knows the neighborhood pretty well.
Well, you saw everything happening as it's going, all the dust, and I wanna thank you for my new sidewalk too. I got the new sidewalk for you.
We're trying to do the street too.
I'm telling you.
Well, the manager is.
All in one day, here is all this and all these trucks and taking the sidewalk up, I'm good. I'm in a dream world.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. No, reports now. CRA attorney,
Nothing to report, sir.
executive director.
Very quickly, just to give you a quick update, we have been proceeding through our process on the amendment and the interlocal negotiations with the county. Our CRA amended plan has already been approved by the TIF committee with recommendations to add, to minimally invest 10% in our housing initiatives. And we've started the negotiations with the county staff. So we're trading documents. Everything is moving to plan. The expectation for us is to get it onto their June committee and then the preceding board meeting, so that we will be definitely done by September and not get into timing with the county.
Okay.
So.
Two questions I have, Mr. the Director. First one has to do, you remember the last presentation we had from the RMA
Yes.
lady? How is that moving? Are we,
They have been doing, and I I would like to get you a full briefing report. I know they've been doing their environmental scan with the stakeholders on the marketing. I think they had a meeting, I want to say last week. So they are moving forward with the process that they presented to the board. But I will get you I'll distribute a hard update with every meeting that they've had, the results of those discussions, or preliminary results of those discussions.
But I understand there is a timeline of
Yeah.
certain events that's supposed to happen at a certain time until the point where things will come from an idea or concept to actually materialize.
Right.
So-
I'll have to get you the update on the actual timeline. I know right now over the next, I want to say for the next month or so, the expectation was they would be having stakeholder meetings, and kind of bringing that information to consensus to present back to the board. The other thing, I guess, and it's tied to the plan, obviously we need to get our extension done. So there are, all of the initiatives that we have in the plan that we want to proceed with. We've kind of already started with one, the 7th Avenue. We're kind of moving with the master plan, the design company. We're getting ready to engage them through procurement. So we are moving on some of those steps. I think, as you know, I've had some meetings with regards to a potential partnership, 3P partnership on the redevelopment of the garage property, or the property next door. So we're having some of those conversations, but the long range, or rather I should say middle range, I guess goal, which will be over the next 7 months, is get that approval done so I know I have the time and the TIF capacity available to get those projects done.
Cafe Creme? Cafe Cream?
Cafe Creme is moving forward. In fact, we will be pulling the permit so that we can get the canopy done on the project on the side. So actually I got that documentation moving forward right now. So everything's moving to plan right now.
All right. Public comment? Anyone from the public wishes to be heard on any topics about the CRA? Major? Nothing?
Good evening, members of the CRA, ladies and gentlemen. Real quick, just to highlight a significant arrest that was made by the downtown CRA officer. Back on March 29th, 2016, Officer Crespo, who would have been here tonight, but he had a death in his family and had to go out of town, and he apologizes for missing the meeting, was patrolling on the Segway, and some of you have seen him in City Hall before on the Segway. He went into the Simon's Footwear right next here to City Hall, and while he was in Simon's Footwear, he saw a gentleman standing at the register with a stack of credit cards in his hand, almost like like a playing deck of cards.
Mm-hmm.
So it caught his attention, and he made some casual conversation like he always does with the store employees. And he rode out on the Segway, started patrolling the parking lot, but he continued to watch inside the store. And as he was leaving, he heard the cashier tell the gentleman, no, that one is also declined. So he knew that the guy had several credit cards. And a lot of times with credit card fraud, they try multiple cards until one passes. Because until you report it to your credit card company, sometimes there's a delay in the cards, whether they're still good or not. He waited in the parking lot, called for backup, approached the gentleman casually and calmly, engaged him in conversation, was able to get the store receipt from the gentleman because he's kind of, oh, what's going on? What's wrong with it? I don't understand why your card wouldn't go through. Let me see if I can help you. So he got the credit card receipt, asked him for one of the cards, and he compared the number on the declined receipt with the card, and the number was wrong. So they remagnetized the strip. So the number on the card did not match the magnetic number on the back, which is very common for credit card fraud. So through his investigation, we wound up arresting the subject, who was then later interviewed by our detectives and was actually possibly involved in an international fraud ring because he had credit cards from not just the U.S., but credit card numbers from overseas. He had 5 stolen credit cards in his possession at the time. And the store would have been out over $300 in merchandise if they would have approved one of the transactions. So due to his hard work and dedication, we were able to take a felon off the street and prevent future credit card fraud, which is one of the growing crimes in the community and in the nation. So for his hard work, we recommended him for Officer of the Month, and we just wanted to bring this little bit to you to show you the actual work that's being done by the downtown CRA officer and the impact the downtown CRA officer makes in the community, not just through visibility, but also through some direct action. That's it. Thank you.
Any old business? New
The
business?
question, Mr.
Oh,
Mayor,
go ahead.
about the CRA. You said the plan been approved by the TIF committee as it is or with amendments?
No, so the TIF committee accepted the structure
Okay,
that we submitted.
okay, the one that was approved here.
And they approved it. During our, we've gotten their version of the interlocal. One of the things that the county is looking for us to do is put hard benchmarks in our interlocal.
Date benchmarks, like by this date, by
Time,
this date?
yeah, time period. So years though. So at year 5, we expect the parking garage or 10 projects will be complete in this quarter or that quarter. The other thing, obviously, and tomorrow we have a meeting at the county with hosted by Commissioner Cava. All of those new accommodations and recommendations that they've made, obviously they're looking for us to have some of that, or not, if not all of it, weaved into our interlocal. So they did say in the meeting that we weren't considered a new
Talking about the
CRA.
preliminary report.
Right.
Okay, they want you to add it to the.
But they want us to add some of that stuff.
Okay.
So they'll probably be, the way I see this potentially going is, we'll go and negotiate. I'll come back to this board and say, here's kind of where consensus has been met, and get your opinion on it. Probably get an amended vote, and then take it back to them to between the Economic Prosperity Committee and final approval of the full board. But you know, I can tell you, and our attorneys sat in those meetings. You know, they're being very cooperative. This is the best thing I can say. You know, they're probably going to want the board members added. They want the benchmarks. We haven't gone down the full way of the 50% discussion yet, but I know it's going to be had as well.
50% discussion.
So one of the recommendations is that the CRAs be moved from 95% CRAs down to 50% CRAs.
Okay.
So that's one of the things in the recommendation, in the global recommendation. So
Can
we'll
they explain you why they choose the second?
well, the obvious thing, and it is, I'll say, if I would take off my executive director hat and put on my city manager hat, they're trying to get protection for the general funds of the county and the city. It's the same concern that I have
That's
as
when
city manager.
they want equal money on the CRA side and
Well,
into the general fund.
keep some general fund money.
Feeding both.
Feeding both.
Okay.
Feeding both. Because with the general fund, although it's hard, you can do, as a board, you can do whatever you want with your general fund money.
No, but the general fund money cannot fund CRA projects. Or
You
can,
could, well,
you can?
The city's CRA, I mean, the city's
City.
general fund.
yeah,
The city's general fund, yeah.
general fund, not theirs. I'm saying you
No,
could-
not theirs, but the city general fund cannot go to CRA projects.
If you
And
already
we could go to a
identify the
It can go to a project
A
that's in
project
the
that we
CRA,
define, yeah.
but it
Mhm.
needs to, it can go to a project that's in the CRA community redevelopment area, but it needs to be a city project.
It needs to be a city project.
Right, if you're doing a street improvement project or sewers or whatever, typically it's the reverse. Most CRAs, what happens is they end up funding city projects. So if you have, like, let's say, a parks improvement project, the CRA could fund that. If you have a sewer infrastructure project or a water infrastructure project, a CRA could fund that. All you need to do to fund a CRA project is it has to be in your plan, your redevelopment plan, and it has to be something that under the statute you're allowed to do. And there's only a few things under the statute that a CRA can't fund. Things like a city hall, things like a fire station, things like that. Things that are administrative buildings for the city, as well as day-to-day administrative costs for the
Okay,
city.
so it's the,
But the
okay.
question from what I think the mayor is talking, let's see, you have the benchmark, right? You already identify all the projects for the CRA. Let's say you identify the parking garage. Can 2 years from now, you decide to take general fund to
Fund that
the-
project?
Yeah.
We could always use that to support that project. We can vote, the city can vote to invest their money into that project. But you remember the CRA it's a financing tool. It's a tool that helps with the redevelopment. So, when we get to that road, and I think we've had this discussion, what I want to present to you are a multitude of financing strategies. CRA is going to be one, possibly a general obligation bond, a revenue bond, grants, all of the things that we can pull together to finance all of the capital needs. So as we get into the budget process for the city, what we'll develop is a complete capital plan, which would include the CRA identified projects and initiatives on the one side, all of the city's streets, and I know we've been having that conversation about citywide street projects, sidewalks, all of that stuff will be identified. And we'll say, okay, we can fund this from here, this from there, but obviously we have to be careful. We can't supplant, if you will, our general government activities,
Correct.
if you will.
Like, for example, one of the other things you can't do, if it's something that's in your city CIP within the last 3 years, the CRA can't pay for it. So the way we're going to set it up, as the executive director said, we're going to have projects that are going to be CRA projects. So as long as it's a CRA project within our plan, if the city's going to help in some way on some financial basis, it's still going to count the way we draft it towards the benchmarks. And we're going to make it as flexible as possible. We don't want to put ourselves in a box that we have to do one particular project. We're going to say, for example, we may want to do obviously something on the west side, like the Chinatown project, something downtown, some affordable housing, also mixed in with increasing the taxable value within the redevelopment area.
It won't be an all or nothing. It'll be,
And we're also going to try and
Now
provide.
now that you mentioned the Chinatown, but I mean, the way that I conceive it or perceive the Chinatown projects is that I see it more like investors coming and make acquisitions and develop themselves. But I don't see our CRA really money going toward developing. I thought, with us going to China and going to other Chinese communities and asking them to transplant themselves to North Miami is more like for them to come and make acquisitions of buildings and what have you, and develop that area, with their capital. But,
We are.
but not
We are.
CRA funding per se.
we are, but I would say as part of that, what we're also doing is saying to them, yes, come spend $1 million acquiring a piece of property and putting your business here. We can incentivize you that move to this location by giving you a $50,000 grant to redo your facade, so that it is consistent with the design plan for the Chinatown designated area. Or we know you're going to create 100 jobs, so we'll give you, some type of an incentive. We could do a TIF deal with them where we say we'll rebate some of your taxes for 10 years or 15 years because A, you're going to go ahead and make the investment, which will increase our tax base. B, you're going to create 50 jobs. So if we can verify that and you maintain those jobs for the time period, we can give you a TIF rebate, which is a portion rebate of their property taxes that they will be paying city and the county. So, there's a number of, to your point, yes, they'll be making much more of an investment than we would be providing incentive, but the incentive still is a carrot that you'd want to have out there to make sure that we can get them and we can close some of those deals. So, and
Yeah, but
and
with,
I- and
with
I've seen
incentives comes
requirements.
demands
Correct.
and
Absolutely.
requests. I mean, what kind of demands are we going to make of them? I mean,
We
if
can.
we're going to
we
be,
can- Well,
are we going to come with the same demands, like 25% of your workforce, has to be North Miami
fact,
residents?
I was about to say,
those
part
type
of
of
those
things.
rules, those recommendations from the county, new construction absolutely have the local participation requirements, local hiring. So yes, we can put all of those demands. I don't know if we want to go this far. Miami CRA recently, their CBO language, they talk about the contractors for new projects. Now they're doing big scale projects. They're doing the convention center. They're doing, 40, 50 story condominium projects that they're supporting mixed use and retail. They're asking for the subs to relocate their principal business locations to the area. They're asking for 20% minimum local hiring and local small business participation. They're going real far before, and actually in one case, with the convention center, they're getting a portion of the upside of the deal back to the CRA. So they're becoming an owner or a partner in the development in exchange for the incentive that they're going to provide in the tax rebate. So there's a lot of room, and not every, it's not one size fits all. We have to look at what the business is, what the size is, what they're bringing, and figure out. But certainly those things will be included. The one thing I wanted to add on the rules, there was one prohibition that they put in there, which is, or a limitation rather. We do have a resource officer for downtown. I know we're getting ready to do another one for 7th Avenue. In the first draft, they've asked that we limit our support of community policing activities and ongoing operational maintenance of certain infrastructure to 10% of our TIF. So as a cap. So you can still do the activity, but they don't want us to, support half of our police force through the CRA. If it's a resource officer like the one we have, which is someone who is more engaging with the community, get that limited to a certain budget. But all of the things that you're alluding to are the direction that they're moving in.
Okay. All right. Any new business, new items that needs to be addressed or discussed? If not, we need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you.
Adjourn at 6:09.